6th grade practice reading SOL. Test release 2014. Read the following passage and answer questions 1 through 9. Cleaning tables. Julia raced down the hallway, sliding the last few feet to her next class. The bell had already rung, so she slipped through the door and quickly sat down, hoping the teacher would not notice. Mr. Malone turned from the piano and said, "Julia, I'm happy you could join us." He continued teaching, explaining the new music they were preparing to learn. Julia relaxed, thinking Mr. Malone will let another tardy slide by. Unfortunately, she realized at the end of the class she was incorrect. "This is the third time in the grading period that you've been late, Julia." Mr. Malone stopped Julia as she walked by his desk. "Please explain this behavior." Julia hesitated. "I'm sorry I was late. I was cleaning the tables in the science room. Someone spilled vinegar, so cleaning took me longer than usual." Mr. Malone replied, "I've talked to you about your tardiness, and you're aware of the rules for being tardy so many times. I'm afraid you won't be able to attend the upcoming field trip." "It's to hear the city orchestra," Julia protested. "We're going behind the scenes at the concert hall and learning." Mr. Malone interrupted gently. "I don't want you to have to stay here, but I don't have a choice. Unless your parent or guardian comes in to discuss this with me and the principal, you won't be attending." Julia turned to gather up things from her desk and left, walking slowly home. It was after dinner before Julia found the courage to talk to her dad. Dad, are you really busy at work tomorrow?" Julia continued, stammering. I mean, you need to come to school and talk to the principal." "Really? Why do I need to talk to the principal?" Julia's dad asked. With a deep breath, Julia started to talk. She told her dad about the messy science tables and how her science teacher deducted points from their daily grades if they did not clean up after their experiments. She spoke about how her friends' next classes were on the opposite side of the building. Since her next class was nearby, Julia volunteered to help clean up so that her friends would not be late. Finally, she explained her tardies and how those would prevent her from attending the orchestra field trip. When she was finished, she waited. He watched his daughter for several seconds, anxiously for her dad to speak. He watched his daughter for several seconds, considering the best way to handle the situation. Finally, he simply said, "I'll be there right after school." The next day after school, Julia walked to the principal's office. Her father and Mr. Malone were already there talking with Miss Thompson, the principal. When everyone was seated, Miss Thompson spoke. "Julia, I have a question for you. Why are you cleaning the science tables alone?" Julia fidgeted and squirmed nervously for a moment, not looking at anyone. Then she mumbled, "I'm not really sure." The adults watched her a moment longer. "I guess no one wants to clean up, and I don't want my friends to get in trouble." "By helping your friends so they wouldn't get in trouble, you got yourself in trouble," Miss Thompson said. Julia nodded in acknowledgement. "Your science teacher and I will be dealing with that issue soon. However, you were still tardy 3 times in one grading period, Julia. The school rules state that there must be a consequence." Julia's dad continued, "You're still responsible for breaking the rules, even if it was for a good reason. Do you have any ideas for a punishment?" Julia just shook her head and swallowed hard. She already knew that she would have to miss the field trip. Mr. Malone quietly motioned to Mr. Thompson, and they both slipped out of the office. Mrs. Thompson, and they both slipped out of the office. Julia's dad placed his hand on Julia's shoulder while they waited. "I have some good news for you, Julia," Miss Thompson said as she walked back into the room. "Mr. Malone has explained to me how excited you are about the orchestra field trip. Normally, this many tardies would exclude you from participating." She paused and stared at Julia. "However, I have considered the motives behind your tardies and will allow you to attend." Julia jumped out of her seat, repeating, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." "Don't get too excited," Miss Thompson cautioned. "You'll have a 1-day detention for each tardy. I hope you won't let your friends take advantage of you like this again." "No, ma'am, I won't," Julia replied, grinning from ear to ear. Read this sentence from paragraph 2. Julia relaxed, thinking Mr. Malone would let another tardy slide by. What does this sentence suggest? A. Mr. Malone usually understands Julia's actions. B. Mr. Malone and Julia know what to expect from each other. C. Julia and Mr. Malone get along well with each other. D. Mr. Malone sometimes forgives Julia's delays. Number 2. In paragraph 6, Julia's response to the news that she cannot attend the field trip best indicates that she, A. is angry with herself, B. regularly attends other events, C. disagrees with her teacher, D. has a strong interest in music. Number 3. In paragraph 12, which topic do the adults most likely discuss before Julia arrives? A. Julia's grade in science class. B. Julia's reluctance to share her feelings. C. Julia's reason for arriving after the start time. D. Julia's ability to make friends. Number 4. In paragraph 14, what does acknowledgement mean? A. Admitting something is true. B. Showing an appreciation. C. Expressing strong feelings. D. Acting out of concern. Number 5. Which word in paragraph 17 signals a generalization? A. Normally. B. Paused. C. However. D. Considered. Number 6. Complete this cause and effect chart. Click and drag the correct answer to the box. The cause: Julia is tardy 3 times. Effect: Julia receives several days of detention. Number 7. Which statement is most likely true about Julia's dad? A. He wants Julia to learn from her mistakes. B. He closely observes Julia's behavior. C. He is eager to defend Julia's actions. D. He feels Julia has the ability to do well in school. Number 8. Which sentence states the most likely reason Julia is allowed to go on the field trip? A. She agrees to take the advice of her father. B. She conducts herself respectfully during the meeting. C. Miss Thompson thinks Julia made a mistake. D. Mr. Malone convinces Miss Thompson that Julia should attend. Number 9. At the end of the story, the reader may best conclude that the biggest reward for Julia is A. Proving who is really to blame. B. Being able to protect her friends. C. Having her true character understood. D. Knowing her father spoke with the teachers.